Hey, Sacred Super. Hey, Sacred Superstar. This is Amanda Elo'esh, and today I'm going to share with you what it means to be a leader in our modern world and why is that important. We are obviously in really intense times right now. There are a lot of incredible things that are happening in our world, in our government, in our social economic circumstances, and a lot of people are under a lot of stress, feeling scared about our security, feeling scared about the changes that are happening. And quite honestly, it seems like our world leaders are out of touch with the everyday human being. And what I have found is that now more than ever, whether we feel like it or not, whether we see ourselves this way or not, we're all being called to be leaders. And why do I say that? And what does that mean? The reason I say that is because we don't like what's happening in our world right now, and it's up to us to change it. We cannot rely on our world leaders to change things. It seems really obvious to me that money and people with a lot of money are controlling a lot, whether our world leaders want to or not. I believe that they're being put in really compromising circumstances and given not really the best obvious options. But the reality is that even though there are world leaders, we have a lot of power within ourselves. The problem is, if we think about, I can't change, what we can do as a singular person, it feels scary, it feels intimidating, and it feels like there's no hope. And so now more than ever, it is so important to come together in community of like-hearted beings to support each other in standing up, doing the scary thing, and in our world around us, in the circumstances we find ourselves in, to when we see something happening, in our community, in our children's school, in our neighborhoods, in our local political arenas, if we see something that feels out of alignment with our beliefs, it is essential that we feel empowered to stand up and say something about it, especially for those of us in positions of privilege. It's still scary, even if we're in a place of privilege. I understand. And that's why it's so important to connect with community and to support each other in doing this. So, what that means to me is embodying the values that we want our leaders to start embodying. So, for me, what that means is not buying stuff on Amazon. What's wrong with Amazon? Well, they make billions of dollars every day. They make over $1 billion an hour, the owner of Amazon. And I don't see them doing, if I know if it was you or me making that kind of money, we would be investing that in putting an end to world hunger. We would be investing that in educating and supporting our youth. We would be putting that into solving the major problems that are happening in our world today. And I don't see that happening, but the reality is all of us as a collective are the ones that are giving that money to Amazon. And so when we make choices as an individual, we can set an example. So because I'm in a place of privilege, I spend a little bit extra money to buy things from mom and pop shops, to buy used things, to put it into my local community instead of buying that stuff from Amazon. I do research on businesses that are putting their money to causes that I believe in, and I vote with my dollars. That's one way. Another way, again, is to show up in your community? Are there charitable drives? Are you saying something? If I see a police officer, who's got somebody stopped on the side of the road, I look and make sure, is there violence happening? Does everybody seem calm? I keep take a moment to stop and pause and see, can my presence be of help? Is there some way that what I do in each moment, like the decisions that I make, how I show up for my family, how I show up for my clients, how I show up in my neighborhood, is it making a positive impact? I live next to a beautiful park that I love to go walking in, but about half the time I choose to go for a walk in my neighborhood so that I can get to know my neighbors and so that I can be a presence, so I can keep an eye out for things in my neighborhood that might be important, like suspicious activity or things of concern that may need to be reported. I'm showing up as a responsible citizen. So those are just some examples, but it's important for us to be the change that we want to see and not wait for somebody who feels like they're more powerful, they have more money, they have more influence. You can be a leader, even if all you're doing is choosing to step outside the box you've been in and making a little bit, baby step, scary decisions to shake things up a little and to move things in a direction that reflect your values and reflect what you find to be important. And how are does what you're doing support the kind of reality, the kind of world, the kind of response to your fellow human beings that you want to see in the world? We can no longer wait for our world leaders to do it, because I don't know about you, but it doesn't matter who's in office. Things have been sliding in a really concerning direction for a long time. And to me, it hasn't mattered whether it's a Democrat or a Republican. Things are continually moving in a direction that I don't really have a lot of faith in. And so I'm choosing to stand up and to make that change for myself. I encourage you to also stand up. And I know, like I said, it's not easy if we're doing it alone. And that's why it's important to come together in community. So what I've done is I've created a sacred leadership program. And I won't go into all the specific components of it. It's put together based on what Spirit guided me to do, what feels important to offer my community. But the biggest component of it is to make it a spiritual mastermind, which means that we come together as a conscious, spiritually oriented community of people who are willing to stand up and be the change, embody the change, influence in a positive way how we want the world to be. When we come together as a community, it feels a little bit easier to say the thing that we believe in when we're not 100% certain. I know it's scary. Like, there are so many trolls out there. There are so many people that find it easier to criticize and tear us down. And it can be really, really scary to stand up and let our voices be heard for things that really matter, that we really value. But when we have a group of people that we know love us and care about us and respect us and are going to be there for us if we catch some flack, that's the difference. That makes a huge difference in our ability to have that courage and have that motivation and the catalyst to stand up and say, I'm going to do something differently than when I feel like I'm all by myself and things feel hopeless and overwhelming. When we come together as community, we can make a huge difference. So if you have the ability to gather together your people and start, even if it's a phone call, even if it's just once a month for a half an hour, to share, can we support, can we hold each other and support each other in making those scary decisions to step up, whether you're courageous and outgoing anyway, or if you're timid and shy and introverted, we all need each other to be willing to actually embody the change we want to see happening. Again, we can't wait for it to come from the outside and make it easy for us to say the things, to step in and say, are you feeling safe, sir, with these police officers? Should I be recording this on my ACLU app, to stand up and be the change, to be the presence of peace, to be the presence of loving kindness, to be the presence of generosity, to be the presence, the voice of dissent when even people in authority are speaking up and doing things that we don't agree with and we don't find to be true. It is a deep and very American practice to be resistant to the things that are not loving and kind. We're one nation under God, and the God that I was brought up to believe in was loving and kind. I was brought up with Jesus, who taught turn the other cheek and, you know, bathed the feet of the lepers and the thieves and the prostitutes and, took care of the poor and the sick. And that's what I believe we need to be doing right now. And like I said, it can be overwhelming. It can feel like too much if we think we're all by ourselves. So it is time to come together in community. If you are familiar with the Dalai Lama and his statement about the Western woman saving the world, I think it's this in this feminine way of coming together as community and no longer being isolated, no longer doing the lone wolf thing, coming together in community and supporting each other in standing up for what values we believe in and supporting each other in doing that in a good way. If you are curious, if you're interested, if you happen to be looking for a conscious, mindful, spiritually oriented community who are valuing diversity, who are valuing loving kindness, who are valuing being of service and being a little bit rebellious and choosing to be the example of leadership we want to see in the world and no longer willing to wait for it to happen on the outside, I have created a sacred leadership program that's starting in January 2019. A lot of it is online. Some of it is sacred ceremony that we'll be doing together in the Bay Area in California. It's a powerful program. It offers a lot. I'm not going to go into the detail, but if you're interested in being a part of a spiritually oriented community, like-hearted, supportive, making spiritually guided social change happen in the world, to be leaders who are bringing in a new paradigm of leadership that is radically embracing kindness, loving kindness and service, then connect with me. I'm going to include information about that program and how you can connect with me. Even though it's a huge offering and there's a lot of really amazing and helpful components to it, I'm making it incredibly affordable, easy to say yes to, because this is the time. This is the now. If you know that you were born in these crazy, challenging, beautiful, intense times for a reason, this is it. This is your moment. Don't try to go it alone. Connect with our community. See if it's a match for you. And whether it is or isn't, don't do it alone. Be willing to be the change. You're not alone. There are lots of amazing people out there. And it's time. It's time for us to step up and do the scary thing. All right, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, may the source be with you. Lots of love, everybody.